Sure.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We're going to get started in just 1 minute here. All right. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. We'll let folks trickle in. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, and then Sammy will get us started whenever she's ready.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cece. Hi, everyone. Let's take some time to put names and where you're from in the chat just to get the conversation going, get the flow going. Awesome. Buchanan, hello. I'm going to see where everyone's from in West Virginia. I'm personally from the Eastern Panhandle, so let me go ahead and put that in there. Awesome. I see Wheeling, Northern Panhandle, right on. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, folks, go ahead and put your name and where you're from in the great state of Best Virginia, as I like to put it, in the chat. And we'll start getting started on the seminar. Cece, will you go ahead and share our presentation? Very cool. Hi, Jocelyn from Weirton. Very cool. So I'm going to go ahead and kick things off with an intro, quick intro, before we get into our presentation. But as we're going, please do make sure to say hello, put your names in the chat, and where you're from in the great state of West Virginia. My name is Sammy Brown. In some circles, I'm known as the former delegate of the 65th District in West Virginia House. Other circles, I'm known as one of West Virginia's longstanding organizers, and others, I'm known as Second Lieutenant Sammy Brown, a public affairs officer for the West Virginia Air National Guard. But either way, it is wonderful to see some familiar faces, some good friends, and then some new folks join in this moment. We're very much at an impasse for something that is deeply important and truly transformational as far as our democracy goes. It's completely intersectional, and that's what makes this moment so important and powerful, in that we can bring folks together regardless of how you affiliate, regardless of lived experience. Being able to open and broaden the space in which you can engage civically and be a part of this democracy is unparalleled. So that's where we are right now. That's why we're meeting today, in really to be able to unpack and really delve into a policy that we're calling, that we know as For the People Act. Next slide, please, Cece. So my democracy story, or the package that we're looking to delve into today, is our democracy story. Is really how we've entered this space. The premise of today's talk and today's training is to really discuss how we have arrived at wanting to advocate for this particular cause. And because for folks that are joining tonight, it's 8 o'clock at night. You're going to be here. You've had a long day. Many of us have been working multiple jobs, whatever the case may be. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And that's because you deeply care about the impact that you can have on democracy in this moment. And so part of this conversation, and ultimately what we want to harness and develop in this conversation, is we all have a collective story about how and why we're motivated to restore what it means to engage civically, what it means to us, the promise of democracy, and why this is so important to us. And so what I really want us to think about, and you'll come back to this at many points in the conversation, is what's yours? What's your story about how you arrived here in your advocacy for democracy? Next slide, Cece. So we want to pass For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And this is an unprecedented moment for us, especially in our communities here in West Virginia, because suddenly we became the epicenter of the political world. We are a state that has very diverse entries into democracy. We align in different ways, and frankly, in all the states that I've organized, my home state, and I could be biased, is definitely one that is most community centric and very much influenced by our neighbors, our families, and the folks that we see on a day-to-day basis. Not necessarily from the top lines or national commentary, but instead what's truly happening on the grassroots. So all of that said, what can we do as folks, as the people of West Virginia, to make sure that our democracy is protected, it's secured, and perpetuated in a way that reflects our values and principles? So one of the things that we should really delve into is our points here, our pressure points around For the People Act. What does the bill do? For one, it's going to protect our freedom to vote. The premise behind this is we want to make sure that our voting options are equally accessible across all 50 states, and that very much includes us here in West Virginia in the Mountain State. We want to make sure that our collective voices are heard loud and clear by preventing billionaires from buying our elections. What do we mean by that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't figured it out yet, politics is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We could feed many families, many babies with the money that gets dumped into to political commentary, into messaging, and certainly during election cycles. But the reality is there's folks with very deep pockets and vested interests that right now are persuading the messaging of our politics. And it's not necessarily very heart driven. So we want to make sure that there is a very real cap on how these messages are coming across. Is it billionaires that are dictating the message, or is it our principles and values that we want to see and hear and feel and touch in these campaigns? Are we actually getting to know our candidates, or are we just seeing the messages that folks have chosen for us with lots and lots of money? Third, we want to guarantee that our congressional districts are drawn to give fair representation for all. You may have heard the term gerrymandering. There is a long vested history about disenfranchisement for respective communities, whether it's communities from different socioeconomic status and class, whether it's minorities, marginalized communities. We could delve into this for years and years and years, but the fact of the matter is there are folks at a table in a room that will dictate those lines. And ultimately, your vote will be cast according to those lines. We want to make sure that these districts are drawn in such a way that is fair and indicative of our communities, to give folks a real shot, again, for their voices to be heard. Last but certainly not least, we want to restore and strengthen our freedom to vote by making sure that any changes to voting rules that could discriminate against voters based on background, race, socioeconomic class, ableism for that matter, are federally reviewed so we can have an equal say in our future. Long story short, how you identify your lived experience, your current circumstances should